Hey, what's good with y'all? It's your boy. I'm back with another character bio. Nobody's listening to this, or at least not right now. Maybe in the future when this actually picks up. But the update that I posted on the channel, it stands. The story is no longer called Dragon Ball Freedom. It is called HDBA, which stands for Hyper Dragon Ball Adventures. I think that's a bit more of a striking, more unique name for the fanfiction. So, right. Today's character bio is about Piccolo, HDBA's version of Piccolo, which you'll find to be a little bit different than how Piccolo is in canon. When people think about Piccolo in Dragon Ball, they often think of him as a character who started strong and slowly faded into the background as power levels rose and new threats appeared. But in Hyper Dragon Ball Adventures, Piccolo never lost his relevance because his relevance was never tied to chasing power for its own sake. Piccolo has been about structure, responsibility, and containment, and in HDBA, that philosophy isn't just character flavor, it's really the backbone of his entire arc. To understand HDBA's Piccolo, you first have to understand the nature of the Namekian species, and more importantly, why there are two kinds of Namekians. So first off, it's native and mutated Namekians. In HDBA, not all Namekians share the same origin. There are native Namekians and there are mutated Namekians. Native Namekians originate naturally. They are what the Namekian race looks like without interference, without altercation, and without exposure to eternal radiation, which I did make a post about to explain what eternal radiation is. These Namekians are most commonly associated with Universe 6. Their skin tone leans into this turquoise color rather than the lime green that we've seen from Namekians all the way back in Dragon Ball Z. And while they share nearly identical physiology, culture, and abilities with other Namekians, their history is entirely their own. Mutated Namekians, on the other hand, are the result of evolution under pressure. There's some cars driving around in front of my truck where I'm recording this, so hopefully that didn't disturb y'all. Anyways, the mutated Namekians are the descendants of the Dragoons, a long-dead advanced civilization that pioneered eternal radiation from Universe 0 to Universe 7. When the civilization fell, the survivors changed. Their biology had adapted to the new world that they were on. Their bodies learned how to contain energies that would otherwise tear them apart. This is why mutated Namekians, like Piccolo, for example, have that sharper green coloration to them. It isn't cosmetic, it's just evolutionary. Neither lineage is better than the other. They are simply different responses to different histories that just happen to result into the same species. And Piccolo stands at the crossroads of both. Piccolo's foundation is, his origin is of a mutated Namekian, but he is not just one individual. He carries layers. As it's shown in Dragon Ball Z, he at first absorbed Nail during the Frieza saga on Universe 7's version of Namek, the strongest warrior of his people at the time, that alone elevated Piccolo far beyond a typical Namekian fighter. Later, during the Android/Cell saga, he reunited with Kami, Earth's former guardian. That fusion didn't just increase Piccolo's strength, but it actually made him whole. God and the devil recombined into a single complete being. From that moment forward, Piccolo was no longer split between roles. He was no longer half of something unfinished. He had now been, at that point, complete. This matters because in HDBA, completion is more important than raw escalation. Piccolo, as a guardian, is not driven by conquest. He is not driven by ego, and of course he isn't driven by domination, not anymore at least. He is a guardian. Just as Kami once guarded Earth, Piccolo becomes the guardian of Seraph Island and the Master Ball. This is not a symbolic role. It is an active responsibility that Piccolo decided to take upon himself to take on. Being the guardian of the Master Ball means Piccolo has unrestricted access to its powers whenever it's necessary, regardless of time or location. Not because he wants power, but because he is trusted with it by the Master Ball himself. That distinction is literally everything. Where others chase strength, Piccolo is entrusted with it. Saonel and Purina. The turning point. At one point in HDBA, Piccolo encounters Saonel and Purina, two native Namekians from Universe 6. These two are not just warriors, they are the culmination of their entire planet's warrior caste, fused into two bodies. Together, they represent roughly half of their planet's population, both in power and in memories. When faced with a threat they cannot overcome alone, Saonel and Purina seek Piccolo's help. Not because he is stronger, but just because he is worthy. And when they fall, they choose Piccolo to carry them forward. So Piccolo ends up absorbing them the same way that he absorbed Nail. This is not just another fusion. This is Piccolo absorbing half a planet's worth of people, histories, techniques, and wills. The result is not instability and is also not chaos. It's density. Piccolo doesn't explode with power. He becomes heavier in a sense. He becomes more grounded, more complete in a sense. This moment mirrors his fusion with Kami and significance. Once again, Piccolo becomes something larger, not by domination, but by acceptance. Piccolo and Zalama, long before Piccolo's era, among the native Namekians, there was Zalama, a warrior type elder who drank ambrosia and became the first super Namekian god. This form was not infinite, it was cataclysmic, but it was still finite. Zalama's powers burned intensely and it burned fast. At one point, Piccolo, via a chrono gem, encounters Zalama at the height of his powers. This is not a battle of good versus evil. This is merely a bout between guardians. Zalama guards limitless power. Piccolo guards consequence. Zalama overwhelms reality with output, while Piccolo contains reality through control. Piccolo does not defeat Zalama by overpowering him, but merely by outlasting him. Zalama runs out of energy, but Piccolo does not, because Piccolo understands restraint. The lesson matters because when Zalama later dies and ascends as a highest, which I will make a later video about, that lesson carries over. Zalama gains near limitless power, but now he understands how to hold it. Piccolo taught a future highest restraint. Entropy, power, and regulation. One of the most misunderstood artifacts in HDBA is this little item called the Entropy Emerald. The Entropy Emerald is not corruptive, and it doesn't twist morality. It does not impose chaos. It does two things. First, it can supply power on the same tier as the Master Ball, which, to put that into perspective, the Master Ball has been stated more than once in the story to have infinite, to have quote unquote infinite infinities worth of energy. So for the Entropy Emerald to be able to keep up with that, then it must also be able to output that same kind of energy. Second, it can act as a key, unlocking power. It can unlock the power that already exists within a being and allowing them to regulate it safely. Lord Slug uses the Entropy Emerald not to gain Zalama's powers, but to access and control it. What he already what he already inherited from Zalma. This distinction matters. Power in HDBA is not about external gifts, it's about what a being can safely carry. Piccolo rarely needs the entropy emerald because he already understands regulation. Goku and Piccolo are equals in the world of HDBA, whereas obviously in canon, Piccolo has taken kind of a back seat both in relevance and in terms of the power that he's able to output in combat. But in HDBA, that's not the case. Like, they are really actually kind of close, really close, as a matter of fact. In HDBA, Piccolo was not carried by Goku. They have always been equals, as a matter of fact. Their growth is horizontal, not hierarchical. Goku represents adaptability, instinct, and forward momentum. Piccolo represents containment, structure, and endurance. Neither outright outranks the other. And this is why Mal-X and Razor, which peep how those are the two halves that make up Myth, who is a fusion of void demons that's able to output the power of the void, which is also equal to the Master Ball, just slightly different because only a select group of people are able to manifest the power of the void within themselves. But this is why Mal-X and Razor are also equals, because they mirror Goku and Piccolo exactly, with Mal-X being Goku's future self, who had gone crazy from power and started laying waste to his entire timeline, and Razor being a demon of the void who went to the future, found Piccolo and killed him to take his body, and then also lay waste to that entire timeline. So one is not definitively stronger than the other because the balance itself is the point. When Piccolo's base form rises to match void equivalent power, it is not catching up, it is expressing parity through a different access. Why Piccolo never falls behind. Piccolo in HDBA is never brought in for fan service. He never fell off the same way that Canon Piccolo did, because his relevance is not tied to the power creep, it's tied to the responsibility of the immense power that Piccolo already carries. He is not one who holds, he is the one who holds what others cannot. He is the one who can survive escalation without losing himself. He is the one who bridges histories, races, and eras together. Piccolo doesn't chase the future, but anchors it. Closing. In Hyper Dragon Ball Adventures, Piccolo is not a supporting character. He is one of the main pillars, a guardian forged through evolution, loss, restraint, and choice. While others break limits, Piccolo defines them. And no matter how large the cosmos grows, someone has to be strong enough to hold it together. That someone has always been Piccolo. I think I should probably go a bit more in depth on the dichotomy between native Namekians and mutated Namekians. I stated earlier that mutated Namekians are the descendants of Dragoons, which the Dragoons, they are the ones that brought the original set of Dragon Balls from their planet to Earth. Or not to Earth, but when they evolved into Namekians and Kami decided to leave planet Namek to come to Earth, he brought the Dragon Balls with him. And so, yes, the timeline is that the original homeworld of the Dragoons, which is called Planet Freedom, the Dragoons brought the Dragon Balls they found them on Planet Freedom and brought them with them across the entire universe to find a new home after something came down from the skies to try and kill all of them. And know that force wasn't Frieza. No, Frieza was definitely not around back then. It was something higher than that. Something that has always been there specifically. But anyways, right, the Dragoons, after a time, went by, they evolved into becoming Namekians, and diversify. To differentiate. That's a better word. To differentiate between the Namekians of Universe 7 and Universe 6. The Universe 7 ones, with their history of once being a different species of people that evolved into Namekians, that deserve the title or the naming scheme of mutated Namekians. Now, native Namekians, on the other hand, are a lot closer, or are a lot more faithful to the origin of Namekians that we currently know about now in canon. How Namekians all come from the demon realm. That's what native Namekians are. The native Namekians are a species of demons who originate from the demon realm, and in the demon realm, one of the elders of a tribe of Namekians, who was named Zalima, found this pool of ambrosia, which by drinking it, just because he wanted something to drink, it wasn't like any kind of rite of passage. It was closer to being an accident than it was to being any kind of prophesized ritual or whatever like that. So Zalima drank the ambrosia, and in doing so, it gave him God Ki, turned him into the first Super Namekian god. And with those new powers as a god, Zalima led the Namekian race out of the demon realm, and they found their way to Universe 6's version of Planet Namek and made a home there. And it's through what Zalima looks like in his super Namekian god form that the native Namekians look the same way that we see them as by represented by Perina and Saunel, with the kind of bluer turquoise kind of color. That's kind of what Zalima looked like back in the day when he actively tapped into the super Namekian god powers he got from drinking the ambrosia. That's how there can be two different groups of the exact same species with two different histories. And yeah, that's honestly all there is to it. I appreciate y'all sticking around watching or listening, since this is an audio thing. It's not like anything's on screen for you to watch. That was kind of stupid of me, but right, that's really it. So y'all have a good day. I'll drop a audio file about Goku next, and maybe after that I can make two separately to talk about Razor and Malek specifically, because I think what I covered in Myths bio wasn't really enough it wasn't enough to explain the two halves that go into Myth, that being Malek and Razor. So I might go ahead and have to touch up on that later. If anyone ends up seeing this, I would appreciate if you liked and subscribe. You can always take it back at any time. So, right, bye.